What is up, guys? TopTierYugioh here, and today I just want to share with you a couple of combos with Dragoon Zoodiacs, as well as do a couple of test hands and show you guys how consistent the deck is and how we can do some of these combos in games and how they look in certain hands and whatnot. So let's just go ahead and get into it. We've got 3 different combos, 2 for going first that end with Drident plus Dragoon, and then there's one going second that's Megaclops plus Dragoon. And so let's just get started. Alright, so for this first combo, all we're going to need is 1 copy of Zoodiac combo and then 1 copy of Zoodiac wrap here. And so this combo is very easy to do. It's super consistent because it is only 2 cards and both of them we're playing multiple copies of. I mean, well, Rat's obviously at 1, but we do have Tinky to search it. And so this is going to be a very consistent combo. If you guys do want to see the list to see the ratios of everything and how to build a deck around Zoodiacs and Dragoon, definitely check out the deck profile. A link to it will be in the YouTube cards in the top right corner of the screen, as well as in the description. But let's just go ahead and start this combo. And so, combo with combo. But what we're going to do first is just start by normal summoning the Rat, of course. Activating Rat's effect to send a copy of Ram to the graveyard. And this combo is going to look very familiar to you seasoned Zoodiac vets, but from here we just not normal summon, but special summon Shakanine. Activate Shakanine's effect to revive the Ram. So let's put the graveyard over here. So Shakanine and Ram on board. Next we overlay for Drident on top of the Shakanine. Drident effect to destroy the Ram. And then Ram effect will trigger to revive the Shakanine. Summon Tiger Mortar on top of the Drident. Attach material under your Shakanine. And now Shakanine's effect will revive the Drident. So this should look very familiar to a lot of you guys because this is the standard Megaclops play as well, but we can do things a little bit differently now that we have Dragoon out, because Megaclops requires 3 materials, Anaconda is only 2, so we can use 2 of our materials to go for Anaconda. We can activate Anaconda effect, pay 2,000, dump Red-Eyes Fusion to the graveyard as a cost, then it will resolve, also sending Red-Eyes Black Dragon and Dark Magician to the graveyard. That's going to allow us to summon our copy of Dragoon. Now we can go ahead and set our combo, and on the opponent's turn, we can activate combo to attach material under the Drident. Not the combo itself, but some card out of your deck that you want to attach. I usually like Ram for that extra defense, or Bunny Blast just to get it in the grave, or even Whiptail if you think your opponent might, try to attack into it, banish whatever they're attacking with. So couple different options, and your combo is going to be live in the graveyard next turn because you have so many Zoodiacs already in there. So you'd already have Shakanine, Tiger Mortar, Ram, Rat, and then whatever you're attaching, as well as Drident if it happens to get destroyed or something. So the combo is going to be live, and then we have multiple disruptions. So this is a really cool combo. Just going first, all you need is either Tinky or Rat plus combo, Zoodiac combo. For the second combo, all we're going to need is 1 copy of Time Thief Winder and then any Zoodiac monster. It doesn't matter what it is, but I'm just using Ram for this example. However, Ram is a really good one to start with because it will protect all of your Zoodiac monsters, or Zoodiac Xyz monsters I should say, from targeting trap cards such as Imperm. And in fact, this entire combo plays through Imperm perfectly. And you'll see exactly what I mean as we get into it. But also before we do, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel because it's a free and easy way to help out. And also it's going to make sure that brand new videos will be hitting your subscription feed every single time they're uploaded. And I do upload 2 to 3 times per week generally, and all of them are great videos. So definitely feel free to subscribe to the channel. But let's go ahead and start this combo. So we are going to start, of course, by normal summoning our Zoodiac monster. And then we're going to overlay 2 of our useless Xyz monsters on top of it. So Hammer Kong and then Borbo. The order doesn't matter. We just want to make sure that we have enough material right now to use Winder's effect and still have the still have the Ram attached as material. So Hammer Kong, Borbo. Then we're going to detach 1 for Time Thief Winder's effect. So we'll detach the Hammer Kong. Then from here, we're going to overlay Shakanine on top of the Borbo. Activate Shakanine's effect, revive the Hammer Kong. Doesn't really matter what we revive here, we just want another monster on board for Anaconda pretty much. And then again, we want to keep that Ram under it so that our opponent can't Imperm it. Then from here, we can link those away for a Anaconda. Let me try to fit everything in the frame. Doesn't matter, these can be anywhere in the main monster zone. Zones don't matter at all in this deck. But from here, we overlay for a Drident. And then we can go ahead and activate Anaconda's effect, sending the copy of Red-Eyes Fusion as a cost. And once again, if the opponent does try to imperm at this point, you can always use your Drident to destroy the Anaconda, and then the Anaconda will just resolve in the grave, even if the opponent tries to imperm it. So that's another way you can play around Anaconda. It's another reason why I really like this combo, because it also would work for Valor as well. Like if your opponent has any type of targeting disruption, you can use Drident to play around that. So that's really cool. And it will end with you having a Dragoon, Drident, and Anaconda. So this is also, once again, a really good combo. Difficult for opponents to play around, and depending on the material under your Drident, they're going to have a tough time dealing with that too. Like if you had, let's say, a Bunny Blast under it, your opponent couldn't target it with spells. If it was a Whiptail, they're going to not be able to attack into it. Just a really good combo overall. Very versatile and very consistent. But the next combo is going to be the most powerful. So for this final combo, all we're going to need is one copy of Zoodiac Rapier or a Tinky to search it, as well as a Time Thief Winder, and this is going to allow us to end on a board of Megaclops plus Drident. This is a going second combo though, but going second, you're going to see how much value and potential this really has. And so if you can combine this with a card like Forbidden Droplets or Dark Ruler No More, it's really an auto win. And so let's go ahead and get into the combo. So we are going to start by normal summoning our copy of Rapier, activating the effect to send a copy of Ram to the graveyard. And yes, this is going to be starting with our standard Megaclops play. So I'll speed through it since we've already seen it once in this video. So from here we are going to overlay for Shockanine, Shockanine effect revive the Ram, overlay for Drident, Drident detach Shockanine, pop Ram effect revive Shockanine, summon Tiger Mortar attach material under Shockanine, Shockanine effect revive Drident. So now we have 3 Xyz monsters. We can link all of them into a copy of Megaclops. So this is why it's a going second combo. We need our opponent to have some cards on the field in order to use Megaclops effect. But what we can do is target one of their cards on the field and then revive our Drident from the graveyard and attach their card to our Drident as material. So let's say they had like a Savage Dragon. We could attach that to the Drident, so we've dealt with the Savage Dragon on their side of the board. Now we can actually use Drident's effect to pop another card on their side of the field. So we've destroyed 2 of their cards already. Then from here, we can overlay anything on top of our Drident, like a Hammer Kong per se. We can use Borbo as well. Either one of them works, because we haven't summoned them yet this turn. Then we're going to use our Time Thief Winder by detaching the Drident. And now we can link these 2 into a copy of Anaconda. Now we can activate Anaconda's effect, dumping the Red-Eyes Fusion. Now it resolves, so we can send our Red-Eyes and Dark Magician to the grave, allowing us to summon our copy of Dragoon. So then from here we can use Dragoon's effect to destroy 2 more cards, or 2 more monsters, specifically this time, on our opponent's side of the field. And so with this combo, we've gotten rid of one of our opponent's cards, another one of our opponent's monsters with the Drident, and then 2 more monsters with Red-Eyes Dragoon. So this can easily clear a board and put a lot of damage up. And while Megaclops does half the damage, you still have a 4,000 attack monster, a 3,000 attack monster, well, and Anaconda. And then your Megaclops obviously is unaffected by monster effects except for Xyz monsters. And then Dragoon cannot be targeted, cannot be destroyed. So this is a very difficult board for opponents to come back from, especially after you've already cleared theirs. And so this is usually an auto win when it happens, but it's so easy and consistent to do because once again, all you need is that Rat plus Winder. And then if you have like a Dark Ruler No More or a Droplets, it's very, very easy to do. So now that you guys have seen the combos, you've seen what this deck is capable of, let's actually take a look at some test hands so you can see how consistent these combos are, how consistent the deck is, and really what you can do with various opening hands. And I'll give you guys what my thought process is when playing this deck, and generally how I like to play games. But yeah, let's just go ahead and get started with these test hands. Alright guys, I just finished power shuffling the deck, but while I'm still doing a few more final shuffles, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I know most of you guys are not subscribed, so just scroll down a little bit and subscribe. It really helps out a lot. And if you guys want to see more Zoodiac content, just let me know. I post a lot of Zoodiac videos, so you won't be disappointed. So subscribe. But let's go ahead and get into this first test hand. So we're going to start with a copy of Forbidden Droplets, Ash Blossom, a second copy of Forbidden Droplets, Whiptail, and then Thoroughblade. So this hand would be actually pretty solid going second because we have the Droplets, but going first, it's not bad. And of course you have the option of normal summoning Thoroughblade, discarding the Whiptail, and you would draw into a Red-Eyes, which kind of sucks. But I actually don't like using Whiptail very often going first, especially if you're not able to set up a follow-up, because you want to be able to play turn after turn rather than just getting this one extra card now. And so what I would probably do with this hand is just normal summon the Thoroughblade, no effect, and then just go into your Zoodiac stuff. So I would just go Hammer Kong, Tiger Mortar, and then Drident. And I want the extra material so that I don't have to detach the Thoroughblade if I don't need to. But you don't have to do that if you want to play around. I mean, this already plays around Nibiru because it's only 1, 2, 3, 4 summons. But this gives us the most material to work with. So this is all I would do for turn 1. I would maybe set Droplets and pass. And you'd have the Droplets, Drident, Ash as disruption. And then on your next turn, you'd have the Whiptail to maybe follow up with. And you could probably attack into something and banish it, which is why I wanted to save the Whiptail as material now versus using it on top of the Thoroughblade, or on top instead of using it instead of Thoroughblade, because if you start with Whiptail and your Drident gets destroyed, you no longer have Whiptail to deal with things. But if you start with Thoroughblade, on your second turn you now have the Whiptail to deal with your opponent's board. You also could just summon this in attack, which would telegraph that you probably have a Whiptail, but it also would mean that your opponent can't attack over it most likely, because if you attach Whiptail from hand, then your Drident's going to be at 2800 attack, which is pretty good. Especially considering you have Droplets, so even if they have like a big monster, you could half their attack and they would, you know, get destroyed in the damage step most likely. So that's pretty much all you could do for turn 1. It does suck that you're drawing a Red-Eyes for next turn. You really don't have much to do with that. I mean, I guess if your board gets cleared, all you could really do is like Whiptail, Shaka-9, revive Drident, Tiger Mortar material under Drident, and hope to survive another turn like that, because you still have a secondary Droplets as a second line of defense on top of the Drident that you're going to be resummoning if need be. And then on your third turn you draw a Cyclone, which is solid. But really what we're missing here is the ability to make a more efficient player to set up a follow-up. So we need access to Bunny Blast, combo, something along those lines. Not a terrible hand, but it'd be difficult to play the long game like this. Something else you could do on your second turn is, assuming everything survives, you could just like go Whiptail, and let's say you used your Drident's effect, so you had some material in the graveyard, you could go Shaka-9, revive whatever you detach, so revive something, then link both of these away into an Anaconda. Then that Anaconda can summon your Dragoon using this Red-Eyes from hand, and then you have Drident plus Dragoon. And so now you have an Anaconda, of course. So now your board's going to be a little bit better, more resilient, and you're going to be able to push more with that Dragoon than you would be able to do otherwise. And this is actually one of the advantages of playing this Dragoon build, because it makes it so that if your first turn board sticks, if you have any sort of other monster that you can summon, you can easily go into a Dragoon and then push even harder than you normally would. Whereas in a pure Zoodiac deck, we would not be able to do anything with this hand going on like our follow-up turns. Like, unless we had a follow-up play, we wouldn't really be doing that much on follow-up turns. And so this is a little bit better. Something else you could have done, if let's say you didn't have that second Whiptail, or that Whiptail, what you could have done is, if you can just keep this Drident alive on turn 1, then what you could do is like maybe pop one of your opponent's monsters. You could decide to hold the Ash, because this could be your only monster on the next turn. You could just normal summon Ash, and you could, where did the Shaka-9 go? You could Shaka-9 here, Shaka-9 revive back the Drident, Tiger Mortar material under the Drident, and then link the Shaka-9 and the Ash Blossom away for the Anaconda. So you have multiple ways on your follow-up, if that Drident survives, to go into Anaconda and then Dragoon. So again, that's a really cool thing about this deck. Instead of always just needing a Zoodiac monster to follow up, any monster works as a follow-up. Alright, let's do one final cut. Alright, so for this hand we have Time Thief Winder, off to a pretty good start. Alright, not a good start because this is a hard once per turn effect. But we have Rat, so that's Wombo combo, Droplets, and then Imperm. So this is really good because we already have multiple disruption, even if our combo gets stopped. So that's a really good place to start. So what I like to do with this combo from here is, you could do the Rat dump Ram play and do like a much more robust combo. But what I actually prefer to do is to set up something that's a little bit more a little bit more efficient. And so what I would actually dump here is a combo. Either combo or Bunny Blast, but I like combo because we're not going to be able to destroy whatever else we're not going to be able to revive Bunny Blast and destroy it like we would in that combo. So just dumping a combo here, that way we have a follow-up on the next turn, or not a follow-up, but a way to recycle everything back in, get a second draw, and maybe that draw gets us to where we need to be. So from here, or I should say another option is still dumping Ram, and then you could Tiger Mortar material under the Ram and play around Imperm like that. That's another option, but I really like having the combo in the grave, so we're going to do that. Then from here we can go Hammer Kong, activate Time Thief Winder's effect, detaching the rat, Shaka-9, revive back the rat, doesn't matter here. Now be sure to remember that something that's revived by Shaka-9 cannot be used as Xyz material, so we can't just overlay the rat and the Winder for a rank 4, that's not going to work. But fortunately, we're trying to make Dragoon here, so that's fine. There's no restrictions on link monsters on what Shaka-9 summons. So we're going to go ahead and go for an Anaconda. And before doing that, you should go ahead and just make Drident first, just in case. Because if they do try to imperm it on summon, well, I guess even if you wouldn't want a Drident pop, even if they did imperm it on summon, because that'd be pointless anyway. So it doesn't matter. Yeah, never mind. But from here, we are going to overlay with Tiger Mortar and Drident, activate our Anaconda's effect. Can you guys see? I want to make sure it's in frame, but Anaconda's effect, summon the Dragoon, and then we can go ahead and set the impermanent droplets. So in this hand we have 1, 2, 3, 4 forms of disruption. We have Dragoon, Drident, Imperm, and droplets. We also still have a Time Thief Winder in our hand, which we could use to discard for droplets, or we could just keep it as a follow-up. It could just be another monster to use in our hand for a rank 4 or something like that. So not bad. Let's see what our next card would be for the next turn. Oh, I forgot to send the Red-Eye stuff to the grave, so of course it'd be different than what I was gonna just rip off the top. So let's see, Red-Eyes, Dark Magician, and Fusion. And then next turn we would draw, let's say, a Bunny Blast. So this would be great. So we'd have Zoodiac plus Time Thief Winder, so we'd have another way to combo and play into something next turn. So this would be really good. And once again, we also have our graveyard set up for combo, because we would have already Rat, Hammer Kong, and Grave. And then we have, so that's only 2, but we have 3 more right here. So the combo is technically live. We would just have to play into it a little more. So that's fine. We're in a pretty good position here. So let's go ahead and move into the next hand. The one hand trap you do want to be wary of with this deck is Gamma, though. Gamma's the one card that we really can't play around. Like, playing around Imperm is not bad, Valor is not bad, Ash doesn't really affect anything that we do at all, but Gamma is the one card because it both negates and or moves. Like, even if the opponent, let's say, were to negate a Shaka-9, you could always just make a Drident on top of it, and then you're good. You still have your Drident. So Gamma's the one thing you want to play around if you can, but it is not always possible, and in fact it's very difficult to play around it with this deck. But let's go ahead and take a look at the next hand. Oh, I will say some cards I have considered to help me play around Gamma are cards like old school Zoodiac cards like Pianissimo and My Body as a Shield. Both of those would be useful against Gamma, and obviously Pianissimo does not negate Gamma's effect. However, it will keep it from being destroyed, and that's really good. That way you could at least, you get Gamma'd, you make your Drident anyways. That's fine. And then My Body could obviously negate it, but that's a little bit more restrictive in how you can use it, as well as it's going to cost you 1,500 life points. So it's a trade-off, but or maybe we would just get Cross-Out Designator at some point. That'd be nice as well. But for this next hand, we have Nib, Ram, Thoroughblade, Whiptail, and Valor. So this is a pretty good hand because Thoroughblade plus Ram is actually a Megaclops, so we could do that. Or we could also, we couldn't really end on Drident plus Dragoon because we don't have the combo to attach material under the Drident, but sometimes making a Megaclops is good enough, you know. But once again, you don't want to play into Gamma, you don't want to play into Nib yourself, which doing that play will play into Nib. So it's kind of tricky with how you want to do it. And if you really wanted to play as safely as possible, like if you were at an event and This is for all the marbles you're, you know, on the bubble or whatever. What I would honestly do is just go with normal summoning Ram and then just exeasing up to Drident, just doing that the safest way possible. That way you're not going to lose to a potential Gamma or a potential Nib. So you got summon number 1, we can go 2, and realistically this is all you would need. Yeah, this is all you need. You wouldn't even have to attach more material, because on your opponent's turn, Drident's once per turn, so you're only going to be detaching 1, and then on your next turn you have guaranteed Zoodiac follow-ups. So you don't need to waste a bunch of other stuff anyways. I guess another option you could do is, instead of the Hammer Kong, using a Borbo. That way you can use the Hammer Kong as protection next turn from whatever your opponent could be targeting your stuff with. So yeah, so I would just make this play, and then let the Veiler and the Nib protect you. On your next turn, you now would have follow-ups guaranteed. And then you would draw a copy of Thoroughblade for turn, which kind of sucks. You don't want to see too many Zoodiac monsters, but at the same time, it's not terrible when you do, because at least you do have a follow-up, you do have extra things to work with, and it does give you more options. So this is fine. We still have 3 disruptions and a follow-up, so pretty happy with this hand. But obviously, if you wanted to do more, you could go Thoroughblade, discard Ram, then revive it with Shotgun 9, pop it with Drident, do the standard old play like that. So you do have the potential and ability to combo, but yeah, just because we're talking about Gamma and hand traps that we want to play around, this will play around Gamma, Nib, Ash, Imperm, everything. Like, nothing stops this, but you still have 3 disruptions. Whereas if your opponent actually has a hand trap, if you play into it, you end up with probably only 2 disruptions, and you lose one of your potential follow-ups in hand. So that could kind of suck. That's it for this hand. Very simple. Sometimes this deck is simple to play, and it's best to not overcomplicate things. Sometimes you just take it easy, keep it simple, and that'll give you the best result in a lot of games. Like, a lot of times with this deck, you have to try to just not lose. Like, if you don't lose, you know, Drident is good enough. Like, Drident pops something, you maybe have a hand trap that stops your opponent, you push a little bit. Then you follow up on your next turn, you end up with another Drident plus Hammer Kong, and then that's enough. You stop your opponent, on your next turn, put 1 more monster on board, you got a Megaclops. And then from there, it's just difficult for a lot of decks to come back from. So let's look at this next hand. We've got Veiler, Ram, Imperm, Cosmic Cyclone, and Nib. So we already have 3 forms of disruption right here, and 1 copy of Ram. So once again, this is just going to be a simple hand, like no combos or anything. Just normal summon the Ram. You can't normal summon in defense. Normal summon the Ram, Borbo. And this time, I would actually want to put a 4th one under there, just in case we do draw into like a combo. Like, we need some type of recycle play or some type of follow-up play. And in case we do draw a combo, at least we'd have enough Zoos in grave if we did. Like, if we drew combo as well, because we'd attach something. So I am going to go ahead and do Hammer Kong and then Drident here. So we're still playing under Nib, still playing around all the hand traps. It's going to have 2,000 defense, so that's difficult to deal with. You set Imperm and Cyclone, and then you have Nib, Veiler in hand as extra defense. And Cyclone is super underrated right now as well. It's so good against so many different decks. I mean, if you're playing against Dragon Link, you can go ahead and stop like their Lance. So that means they're not going to be able to summon Phalanx. Or actually, you let them use the Lance. You let them attach the Phalanx, and then you banish the Phalanx while it's equipped. That way they don't even have a tuner engraved, so if they like special summon a tuner somehow, they're not going to be able to just make Marcher and then revive back the Phalanx. Well, I guess they could revive whatever tuner they use for Marcher, but either way, banishing the Phalanx is a lot better than banishing the Lance. So that's a thing. You could also banish Ravine if they go into that, or Boot. Lots of different options for banishing stuff in that matchup. Against Infernoble Knight, you can be hitting Durandal, other stuff. It's good in that matchup. Good against Eldritch, obviously. Good against Invoke. Good against so many different decks. Going first, it's a legitimate form of defense. So this is 4 disruptions. Or I'm sorry, 5 disruptions, because we have Drident, Cyclone, Imperm, Nib, Veiler. Our next card is going to be a 2nd Imperm, so hopefully this is enough to survive for a few turns. Okay, then the next turn is the Thoroughblade. So you got to survive 2 turns, but after that we have a Thoroughblade, which will let us follow up on our, follow up from there. So that's pretty good. After that, Winder, which kind of sucks, and that's also a downside of Winder. It's great when you open it, but when you get into like a simplified game state to when you're top decking and you need something to play with on your next turn, Winder on its own does not do that, which is why I didn't really like it in previous builds, because in previous builds, Winder would be, once again, a poor standalone card. You draw it when you're top decking, it does 0, but also the payoff wasn't that good. Like right now, it's really good because the payoff is a Dragoon. That's, you know, incredible, but before it would just be like a Dweller or like a rank 4 or something like that, which doesn't cut the mustard for me, but Dragoon does. But that's one of the downsides of this deck and of Time Thief Winder. And really just extenders in general for Zoodiacs, because we can't generate our own follow-ups, and so playing extenders on our own can be very tricky. It's like in decks that can generate their own follow-up, it's okay to draw an extender because you've already searched your follow-up. But in Zoodiacs, because we can't search our follow-up play, drawing an extender means that it doesn't do anything by itself. We really need to draw starters instead, which Time Thief Winder is not. So let's do maybe just a couple more test hands. I think you guys kind of get the gist of it by now. So with this hand we have Forbidden Droplets, Imperm, Veiler, Whiptail, and Combo. So this is a pretty good hand because we have multiple disruptions and we also have Combo, which is going to allow us to just be able to recycle some plays, and at the worst, it's going to give us a double draw at some point. So that's really good for helping us draw into our starter cards on future turns. So with this hand, I think it's pretty obvious what we do. We would just normal summon the Whiptail, go into our Zoodiac plays, set the other stuff, pass. Next turn, we draw into Barrage, which is actually really good. So we'd be drawing into a card to start our plays with. Another thing a lot of players don't really think about is that Combo can actually shuffle back Barrage. So this is an extra card to shuffle back into your deck, or you can even leave it in your graveyard, and then you can use Bunny Blast, wherever that is. So you can use Bunny Blast to actually add Barrage back to your hand. A lot of people think that Bunny Blast only adds back monsters, but it adds back spells and traps too. It can add back any Zoodiac card. And so you can also even add back a copy of Zoodiac Combo if you leave it in your graveyard. And so that's pretty good. Bunny Blast is a really good addition to the deck, but this hand is also pretty solid. We'd have 4 disruptions, and we'd have Combo, as well as draw into Bunny Blast, or not Bunny Blast, we drew into like some other Zoodiac monster on the next turn, or Barrage, that's what it was, to again continue playing. Alright, so for this next hand we have Ram, Red-Eyes Fusion, Combo, and then Droplets. So for this hand, we're pretty much only going to have 2 disruptions no matter how we play it. Like we're going to have either Drident plus Droplets, or we're going to have Red-Eyes plus Droplets. So I think the best way to do this is to just go for the Red-Eyes Fusion off the top, like just activate it. If it goes through, then good. This is going to be the better form of disruption, and it's going to protect your next turn when you are going for Drident. And then you could also discard either Ram or Drident for the effect. Both of those would not be that bad at all, actually. Especially Ram. If you discard Ram for Dragoon, and then on your next turn you start with Ram, that's combo. That's full combo. Because you'd have a Ram in grave plus a Zoodiac monster. So that'd be really, really good actually. But if your opponent ashes your Red-Eyes Fusion, then you could just, you know, as a backup play, summon Ram, and then go up to your Zoodiacs like that. And at least you have that second Ram as a follow-up, and you have combo, so you could attach something to the Ram and make it more difficult to attack over. Or even a Whiptail, that would put it at 2400 defense, and then, of course, banishing the opponent's monster. So that could be pretty good. So this is a pretty solid hand, actually. But let's actually look at how it would be going second, just as an example. So if you were going second, you have a 6th card, you'd have, you know, gross a second Droplets, but what you could do, I mean, in this hand, honestly, what you could do is just activate Droplets, discard the rest of your hand, and then Red-Eyes Fusion, and like negate your opponent's entire board, summon Dragoon, pop 2, attack into another thing, and I mean, that could potentially just be game. If you destroyed 2 monsters and could attack direct, it could be game, but it would at least set you up for the future, and if need be, you could also hold a Ram for a follow-up for next turn. So that could be one way to play going second. Let's maybe look at one final board. The other thing I will mention about that last hand is that if you're going second against like Dragon Link or something to where you're under Buster Lock, Droplets is not going to save you. We had no out for Buster Lock in that hand. So that's a downside. It's really difficult to go second against combo decks like that. If you're going second against Infernal Knights, they will probably loop your hand, and then they'll very likely make you detach the droplets, but then you would have drawn the other copy, so yeah, that's a thing. Or if they made you discard the Red-Eyes Fusion, that would really actually hurt a lot, because you'd have no other way to really play through their board, because you would summon your Ram, they'd pop it with Charles, well, roll land effect, equip the Charles, pop Ram, and then you would not have a play after that. So again, very difficult to go second against combo, but going first, this deck is very formidable, and droplets at least does help going second. So this will be the final hand. So for this, we have one copy of combo, one droplets, one Tinky, one Nib, and then one Time Thief Winder. And so with this hand, again, this is pretty good because we at least have droplets and Nib, so we already have 2-form disruption. And from here, it just comes down to how we want to combo and if we want to combo. And so I think the best way to go about this in this hand, I think would be to do this the safe way. So I would probably Tinky. And you could Tinky for Rat, yes. But Rat would just auto lose to Gamma, which would be unfortunate. But I guess, once again, there's no way to play around Gamma here. So we could go for Rat, actually. Nah, I like Ram. I'm not trying to lose. Like, yes, Gamma will beat this hand, but we're not going to lose to Imperm too. So go for Ram, which is weird. Like, it's crazy to think that there are situations where you Tinky, like Rat is in your deck, you activate Tinky and you don't search Rat. But yes, like, sometimes that is the best play because you don't want to lose to an Imperm. Like, if Imperm were to happen on this hand, you would just end up with Drident and not Dragoon. And that would not be good. And your Winder would also be like wasted on the field, most likely. So from here, what we can do is overlay a Borbo, then a Hammer Kong, activate Winder's effect, detaching our Borbo. Now we can go into Shaka-9, detach the Hammer Kong, and in retrospect, we also should maybe put one more material under this Shaka-9, because if we use the effect there, so we detach something, Ram would be the only material. We still could detach the Ram to negate the Imperm, but you also want to keep the Ram as material, just, you know, so it has that defense, and if your opponent has any other Imperms that they might want to use later on, or on their turn to try to break your board. So, if possible, and it is possible, you could also attach a Tiger Mortar to have that extra material as well. But then from here, link both of these away into your Anaconda, summon your Drident, Anaconda effect. Let's see, dump the Red-Eyes. Not Red-Eyes, that's Dark Magician. Red-Eyes Fusion. Where is Red-Eyes? Red-Eyes. And that will get us to our copy of Dragoon. So we've got Anaconda, Drident Dragoon, then we've got combo and droplets that we could just set, and this would give us 1, 2, 3, and then 4 forms of disruption. And hopefully we don't have to nib, but if our opponent is able to play through the Dragoon or the Drident, we would still have that nib. And sometimes opponents do play through it because a lot of people are playing cards like droplets in the main. If this is a game 2 or 3, you've got to worry about Dark Ruler as well. And that's when it's really important that you do have cards like Nib and Forbidden Droplets, so that if your opponent negates your monsters on the board, you at least have other monsters to mess around with. Another thing that I do want to mention is that when you see your opponent trying to break your board, if you think that you won't have the ability to stop them, something you can always do, especially, this only really matters in time, but you can always use Drident to destroy Anaconda. That way you're at least removing this 500 attack monster from the board, because if your opponent's able to just attack into that with a big monster, sometimes that can be the difference, you know, taking like that extra 2,000 or 2,500. It doesn't come up all the time, and obviously if they're activating a Dark Ruler or a Droplets, you're not going to be able to chain your Drident to it, but there are other situations when you can. So let's say you're playing against Strikers, and they activate a Afterburner targeting your Drident, you chain Drident destroying your Anaconda. Or I'm trying to think of some other scenarios, or maybe they just have an Imperm in their hand. They're like, alright, let me just get this Drident out of the way. So maybe on their turn, they start off by using Imperm target Drident. Well, I guess you have Ram, so that's fine. But if you didn't have Ram, you would chain Drident destroying Anaconda. that's just something you want to do, and keep in mind that you can clear your own Anaconda, and a lot of times it's going to save you from taking damage. And on the other hand, of course, yes, it does open you up for a more direct attack, but in case your opponent can't break through your entire board, you don't want to have an Anaconda just sitting in attack mode. But alright guys, that's pretty much it for this Dragoon Zoodiac combo and test hand video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, definitely like this video and subscribe to the channel. It really does help out a lot, and I really would appreciate it. And for those of you who are subscribed, you guys are awesome. And so, as always guys, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, tips, tricks, suggestions, anything, let me know down in the comment section below. If I made a misplay, definitely let me know. I always want to know what the best plays are, even if it's like me making a misplay. So definitely call me out on it in the comment section if you have a better play. But as always guys, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video.